Hey, everybody. So if you have been hanging out with us for the last couple seasons of the podcast, you probably remember us mentioning Flaututi in our past episodes. Our friend Molly Sharp, who incidentally was also a guest in season 1, started Flaututi to share her awesome duet arrangements of standard viola rep, which are great for teaching, and it has now grown into a wide-ranging catalog of one-of-a-kind resources for violists and beyond. Steph, do you remember when we played one of the duets from a holiday bundle together?
Yes, it's one of my most cherished holiday memories.
Aww.
But actually, one of my favorites is something that all string instrumentalists would love. It's called Making Double Stops Ring, a guided exploration of just intonation. And Molly actually shared the viola version with us last year, and I am not exaggerating when I say that it completely changed the way I think about intonation. No one has ever explained it to me like this before. I think that we all realize on some level that a B in all situations is not the same, but why?
Yeah. Have you ever had that classic argument in a string quartet setting when you're trying to tune a chord and maybe we're playing that B and we're being told, no, it needs to go lower. No, it needs to go higher. It needs to go here. Wouldn't it be amazing to save all those hours for our string quartet students with no debate? We just know where it's supposed to go. Everyone agrees because there's only one way.
Right. You can just gift them copies of this book.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing personal. Just here's a book about intonation. Well, Molly has made it easy for all of us to play in tune. So whether you play viola, violin, cello, or bass, there's a version for you. You can find this pragmatic book, viola duet arrangements of classic viola repertoire, and so much more at vlatutti.com under Marketplace, or look in this episode's show notes.
Welcome to the Viola-centric podcast. We are two curious violists finding inspiration through authentic and challenging conversations in the professional music world. I'm Liz.
And I'm Steph. Let's jump in the deep end.
Episode 6.
We're trucking through these.
It's episode 6 time.
This
Good
one was
jungle.
I have a lot to say.
The rehearsal.
The rehearsal, which is an apt title.
So many
to get
things.
into it.
So many things to say.
Oh my gosh.
So
they crack me up.
We open with my boyfriend.
Yes.
Doing his thing, getting a photo shoot, and being very cranky about it.
He has very diva-esque vibes here. He doesn't even want to be there. Yeah. He doesn't know what to do with himself.
Yeah, he has no patience. No patience.
I'm not sure I would know what to do with myself either. Yeah. I hate photo shoots.
Well, it's funny when you think about, like, whenever we've had to do headshots or, like, when you and I have taken photos for Viola-centric, and they're like, can you look off, like, remember there's one, actually the photo ended up really good, but it was like, look into the distance at your future.
Yes. I love photographers who actually have some cues that work.
But I will say, I adore the fact that he's like, you get 10 shots. And then he hears 8 clicks and he's like, that was 8. You have 2 more.
But actually, the shot of him actually being himself and being angry in that moment is the best one.
It's so good. Yeah, you want passion? Here you go. And then he just takes it. And the photographer's like, that was amazing.
I love this photographer, by the way.
Yeah.
So he has a Kiwi accent, the New Zealand accent.
Yep.
I love it so much.
It's a good accent.
I love it. I aspire to be able to do a Kiwi accent.
Same.
We have a common friend who has a Kiwi accent.
It's a great accent.
New Zealand, and him. And then from the Thor series, there's a character. Well, it's that famous director. Taika Waititi.
Yes. His accent is
he's
great.
A Kiwi. And so I love all the characters that he portrays. And I don't know, there's something about that.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
What's the name of his character in the Thor series? I forget. I know exactly.
He's the rock guy.
Yes, he's the rock. Yes, he's very sensitive.
Who's very sensitive.
He's like made of stone, but he's really sensitive on the inside.
Yes.
That's
and he likes to play video games, and yeah, he's great.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
So I have a soft spot for Kiwi accents.
I love it. They're good.
Yeah, so meanwhile, they're taking some more sexy photos of
Cynthia on the floor with her cello.
With a cello on manuscript rug.
Yeah.
And Rodrigo's being interviewed by, I guess, a magazine. Mm-hmm. And they're asking him all kinds of questions. You know, these canned questions they always ask. Like, how does your personal life affect your work? And he's just done with it.
Yeah.
Cannot be bothered with this trifling.
Yeah, it must be like New York Magazine editor vibes or something like that. Writer vibes. Like some sort of one of those prestigious sort of, publications that...
Right. They're trying to
hoity-toity.
drum up publicity for the orchestra.
Yeah, yeah.
And Gloria's there. And she and Cynthia have this like cat fight moment. Well, it's a very subdued cat fight moment. Yeah. They're both too proud or too refined and classy to actually get into an argument. So it's all this like under the surface jabs at each other.
You might call it passive aggressive.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and I love she said something about how hard it is to find great female conductors.
Yeah.
Did you hear that? In her, all the favors Gloria has done for Cynthia in bringing these great, and the orchestra and bringing these great conductors to work with them. And Cynthia's kind of like, well, they're all my friends too. Like, it was an interesting interaction between a cellist of an orchestra and the executive director, I thought.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I don't know if there's really that much leverage between them and the head of the orchestra committee. Like, I think of all the heads of orchestra committees who I know. I'm like, do they really have that much influence?
Right. No, the answer's no. I mean, they speak for the orchestra members, you know, to a certain extent, but it's not like, I don't know. Yeah, it was an interesting interaction.
They're not like the head of the union, like the president of the union or something like that.
Yes.
They're not the same.
But what's very strange is this, like, desire that Gloria has for Cynthia to, quote, stay close to Rodrigo. Like, what does she want her to do? Like,
she wants her to spy on her or something so that the negotiations go well.
Yeah, what does that have to do with anything? Seduce him. She wants Cynthia to use her feminine wiles.
I think that's what we're supposed to infer.
Which is definitely not okay.
No, it's
Come on,
not okay.
Gloria. Yeah.
And then in the distance, Rodrigo ends the interview
in a temper tantrum.
He is.
Yes.
He absolutely busts out of there.
Well, he said he refuses to talk about her. We assume Anna Marie.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Because
his kryptonite.
His kryptonite. She stays out of the picture.
Yeah.
That's right.
So then we see Hailey and Betty. Hailey confronts Betty and wants to set the record straight that she did not sleep with Rodrigo.
Right.
She wants Betty to know.
Yeah.
And she wants Betty to know because she wants to take lessons with Betty. I'm like, girl, you are a masochist.
She is.
Which she admits to later.
Now, the crux of this, the thing that makes me the most happy is to hear what Betty's going to charge her for lessons.
I know.
$400 an hour.
I wrote this down and I was like, are things that bad in New York in 2014?
Yes. Oh, New Yorkers, can you add us about this? Do people charge $400 an hour for lessons, or is that, like, again, hyperbole for the show? Because I want to know.
The highest I paid was like $200.
Yeah, I could pay $200 for a lesson. I mean,
and actually that teacher was really gracious with his time and gave me more than an hour. It was like a couple hours.
Okay. Yeah,
but
I feel
it was not cheap, but it was not $400 an hour.
Yeah, I mean, that's very, very spendy, but at the same time, I mean, if I think about what's commensurate with where we live, for people who just teach who aren't members of an orchestra as prestigious as the New York Symphony. Or have Betty's, like, what would you describe her confidence?
Clout?
Yeah, Betty's clout. Or like,
And she's willing to pay $400 at 6:30 in the morning.
She goes, okay. Oh, yeah, but we didn't find that out yet. Betty won't commit yet. Betty's like, I haven't agreed to teach you. She goes, okay, I'll pay $400 an hour. Betty's like, I haven't agreed to teach you yet.
Okay. But she's going to wear her down.
She's dangling her. Yeah, she's dangling it in front of her, yeah.
Yeah. And we find out that rehearsal has been canceled, but just a big red poster board.
Right, and we don't know what's going to happen. There. And everyone's very irritated about it. They don't know what's
And I was like,
on.
They better be getting paid, because all those folks were there.
You and Union Bob had the same thoughts.
I was like, this needs to be above board.
Meanwhile, speaking of great teaching...
Yes, so we see Hailey, who's back to teaching in her apartment.
She is truly a terrible teacher. She should not be teaching anyone.
No, she's the worst. I hope she doesn't charge $400 an hour.
Oh, God.
But she's teaching our boy Duncan, who we all know why he's learning from Hailey.
Yep.
So Lizzie comes in, and she's like wearing something, like basically underwear.
Yeah, she's in her underwear. Yep.
And some kind of like meshy kind of top. I wrote, this kid always gets his money worth.
It's so funny, too, because they're so casual about the whole scene. Like, Hailey's like, hey, Lizzie, like, Duncan's 12. Do you think you could put some pants on, please? And then Lizzie puts an apron over herself to, like, sit down so her legs aren't showing. It's so ludicrous, all of it.
Yeah.
My mom is in town, as I was telling Stephanie earlier, and I said, Mom, we've got to watch this episode so I can record with Steph. And my mom has never seen an episode yet, so we're watching it together. And this whole scene, she hasn't said anything yet, and then she goes, this is highly inappropriate.
That's an understatement, Mom.
Yes. And then, but, I think Duncan's family might be on to the fact that Hailey's a terrible teacher because they are now refusing to pay for his lessons.
Yes. So this whole time, Hailey, though, has been receiving texts from Alex, the dancer.
Yep.
Like, what's up? And she's just kind of...
She's ghosting him.
Yeah, ghosting him.
You know what she has? She has avoidant attachment style.
You're not supposed to diagnose people from afar.
I've learned a lot on Instagram about this.
Maybe she does.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's ghosting him, and I said I'd ignore him too.
Yeah. I wouldn't know what to say. I wouldn't want to talk to him until I knew what to say. I'd be like, yeah.
Yeah, and she's in the middle of teaching a lesson. She
Also,
shouldn't be texting
busy.
people.
She's busy. She's got a busy life. Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. So because Duncan's parents have said that they won't pay for lessons with Hailey anymore, he has delved into his stamp collection and gave her a stamp as payment that's going to be worth like $500 in eBay. So
actually she's getting paid she's even getting paid more than Betty for lessons.
Yeah. But Duncan has some words of wisdom on his way out.
Oh yeah, did you get that? Did you get that quote?
Yeah.
What did he say?
He said, so his parents are apparently marriage counselors who are no longer married.
They're no longer married. They knew
but
when
they
to quit.
say the case of conduct isn't determined by the person who initiates, but by the person who responds. Mm-hmm. So basically, he's saying, you have the power.
Right.
You get to decide the terms on which you continue this relationship.
I'm having an aha moment.
It got real quiet there for a moment.
Yeah. Just thinking about that. I wonder if everybody else will think about that too. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wrote Duncan. Duncan
wise.
with the wisdom. He could read enough into that conversation, into that texting situation to know what was going on.
That's right.
So, he's wise.
He is.
He's a New York kid. He rides the subway everywhere by himself. So.
Yeah, he's wise beyond his years for the average child in America. That's true. Yep.
Yeah.
So now we get to go see what the field trip is.
Yes. So they were told to bring their sweaters and their instruments.
Yep.
They are coming off of a bus. So this is the whole orchestra with their instruments coming off a bus.
Yeah.
In downtown New York.
Without cases, right? No one's got a case, do they?
Well, the cellist has a case.
Did they have their cases? Okay.
I don't know. They were pulling them out as they were all sitting down.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
I said, is this in the contract?
I mean, Union Bob hates it. From the second he gets off the bus, he's making comments.
Yes.
Complaining about the humidity.
Yeah, okay. So we don't get into it here, but we flash over to Gloria, who's having a working lunch with this bro business guy.
Yeah, what's that actor's name? Do you know? He's been
in
a bunch of stuff. Name. But my mom, again, I love peanut gallery comments from my mother. She was like, oh, that guy, he plays a smarmy jerk in everything he does. And then
he does not disappoint.
No, it's Edward.
Yes. He's a regular at this restaurant, and he orders his usual, which is no celery, extra carrots, and raw Brussels sprouts.
And he has just a jug of water.
I saw that too.
Drinking like straight from a jug of water.
Yeah, that has no place in a fancy restaurant. And he asks them to take away the bread.
Yeah.
If I was Gloria, I'd be like, and our meeting ends here.
Yeah. Oh, he's very misogynistic. Like, he's like, pass it. Oh, Gloria, you look fantastic as always. Blah, blah, blah. Like, he's just the worst.
Yeah.
He's literally the worst.
We're meant to hate him as as like a bro-y business type.
Yeah.
Who doesn't know what they do in the orchestra.
Yeah. Sidebar, what would it be like to be an actor who's really only ever hired to be that kind of character?
I don't know.
Do you think you'd embrace it? You'd be like, even if you're not like that in real life, you're just like, hey, I do a good job at this. Like, or is he like that in real life?
I don't know. I've heard actors say that the villains are way more fun to play than the heroes. So I don't know. Maybe
That's fair.
It's just fun to be out of character mean. It like scratches some kind of itch.
He just likes being that Gen X, like American Psycho-esque businessman everywhere he goes.
Well, it's good to know that those folks have a role somewhere.
That's true. There's a place for everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's pretty miffed at Rodrigo blowing off his interview.
Right.
That was what this was about, was the blowing off of the interview and how inappropriate that was. And he's not sold on the genius. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Gloria defends Rodrigo and says, look, he's the real deal, and orchestras have been losing money for 500 years. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. She says orchestra is not a business, and he says everything is a business.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I feel about that. He's not wrong.
He's not wrong. She's not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
There must be something in the middle.
I hope so.
It's like, there's a difference between losing money and making a profit. Like, there's a middle ground. There's just...
It's where nonprofits live.
Creating a service, and that's what you do, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, it was a charged conversation that indicates that the orchestra might be in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah.
And that they really need, like, this firecracker type situation, like Rodrigo's presence to shift things or, pick things up.
Being freelance musicians means gigging in lots of different places with very unpredictable lighting situations.
Oh my gosh, yes. How many times have you shown up to a church gig and wondered if you'll actually be able to see the music by showtime?
Many times. Or it's a cocktail hour in a restaurant with ambient mood lighting at best.
We've all been there and have used those alien-looking bendy lights that only light up the top of the page, so that by the bottom of the music, you're sometimes just guessing, or maybe we'll call it being creative. We didn't know it at the time, but the Aria lights could have saved us lots of eye strain and unplanned improvisation.
Yes, and with a rechargeable battery that lasts 8 hours, you'll never have to carry backup AA's in your case. You'll just charge it up at home and take the Aria light to your gig. The battery will even hold a charge for years between uses, not that you would go that long.
Thank you so much to Aria Lights for their support this season. Please check them out at arialights.com. Located in a historic mansion in Tacoma Park, Maryland, you might get the impression that the team at Potter Violins are as formal as the breathtaking building that they work in. But when you go inside, instead you'll find the most relatable, skilled, and friendly staff.
Yes, the people at Potter's are what really make it a special place. I love visiting because I know that whoever I work with is not going to make me feel like I'm crazy or just being picky. They're kind of like your favorite bartender. They're great listeners who give you what you need without judgment.
Yes, their technicians are not only super talented, creative, and resourceful, they take the time to collaborate with you so that the process of getting your instrument at its best really feels like a partnership.
So if you're in the area, definitely stop by and introduce yourself to Chris, Rob, Kimberly, Derek, Jim, Melissa, and the whole team, or visit potterviolins.com to find what you need online.
It's so fitting then that their shop is in this beautiful old house, because the staff at Potter's really makes it feel like home.
Season 3 is sponsored by the Arc Rest. You know, Liz and I are always being asked about our Arc Rests, and we're happy to share how much we love them. The freedom of movement has been life-changing for me.
Me too. And I love how using the Arc Rest allows my instrument to vibrate fully. And depending on how my body's feeling, I can also change the placement of the bass.
Although Aaron and Tigran started the company in their home workshop, they've come a long way, continuing to innovate by experimenting with harder and softer woods, and even new materials like fiberglass.
There are bases for violin, viola, and even for small fractional instruments. And there are foam pads of different thicknesses, so you can find one that fits your body or instrument perfectly.
And the guys over at ArcRest are sharing a special discount code for our listeners. Use the code VIOLAcentric for 10% off anything on their site.
Yes, check out their offerings at thearcrest.com. That's THEARCREST.com. And don't forget to use the code VIOLAcentric.
So then we're back outside at the rehearsal, and they have to climb through a chain link fence.
Yeah, one by one.
Rodrigo has cut one by one, and into this like abandoned lot, basically with a bunch of chairs set up.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of questions once they are all set up. I mean, there's a lot of warming up the wood comments.
Yes. Yes. Union Bob again complaining about the humidity being effed up. And Betty, to her credit, is like, oh no, Cynthia, it's an instrument. Yeah. It was meant to be played, you know? But like, so is your question about how do you warm up wood?
I just thought it was a funny comment. I'll just leave it right there. And so my question is how those timpanis get through the fence.
Yeah. Yeah. They're just there. They're just ready to go. We didn't get to witness
those collapsible timpanis.
Collapsible. They fold up.
Squish them down in like in the cartoons. And you just add water and they poof up.
And when you do, it goes boing.
Boing. Yeah.
Dee Dee's very excited, though. Dee Dee suggests that he's going to keep his shoes off while he plays. He's very excited to be outside.
Yeah, he's in his element.
Yeah. He's a hippie by nature. We see that further down the road here, too. And yeah.
Yeah. So Rodrigo is in his hobo chic attire.
I love it. And, the whole concept here is that the concert hall has become stale and that they don't have the kind of energy they need in that concert hall. So he says sometimes when they lose their way, they have to return to the basics. So there they are, out in this, like abandoned lot. Mm-hmm. Gonna just whip out some music without any sheet music. Without any stands, without any music.
And
they're
what
just
do they
going to go
play?
ahead and play the 1812 Overture from memory, everybody.
Ready, go.
Concert
Gun
ability.
to my head, I could not tell you what key the 1812 Overture starts in.
Same! And I wouldn't be able to tell you what notes. I might be able to play the last 4 pages somewhat. But you'd have to tell me what key to start in.
Yeah.
Well, because how many 4th of Julys have we played the last 4 pages of 1812? I might be able to get away with some of that.
Yeah.
The whole...
Yeah.
I could probably do that.
Yeah.
But the whole thing? Forget it.
No.
What orchestra piece could we play from memory? Nothing. I could literally
Eine
not.
Kleine.
That's true. I think of that as a quartet piece, though.
Right.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's for string orchestra.
It's true.
But yeah, that's
true.
about the end of my abilities in that regard.
Yeah, you're right. The first movement, we could do that. But that's
I know.
teeny tiny version of 1812.
Yes.
Amazing.
And there are cannons.
Yeah.
Where are the cannons coming from?
Yeah.
I hear cannons.
It's so crazy.
It's just ridiculous.
What was the scene? Okay, so they start on the slow part and people are starting to gather and stuff. And then we cut away and we see Gloria on stage with no one there. And she is very upset.
She's having a breakdown.
Yeah. Yeah. I resonated with this scream out loud moment.
Oh, yeah.
Done
I've
that
been there.
quite a lot in my life.
Yeah, I've been there.
And I would be very embarrassed if somebody saw me do it.
Yeah.
And someone did. Pavel. We meet Pavel.
What does Pavel play?
I think he might actually just... Well, he referred to himself as a musician, but he's not with the orchestra. I think he might be somebody who just, like, maybe he's part of the crew that...
Oh.
Like part of the stage crew.
He's just like a guardian angel that comes down and provides clippers to get into abandoned lots. And
you got to think about,
comforts.
There's these stage crew guys. Like, there's this one wonderful person in an orchestra I play with a lot who, they handle so much for us. We sometimes don't even recognize that they're doing all this work for us. But there was this one time that it's happened twice, but just once it was a concert. I put my dampet in my viola, and this is the first time it's ever happened. The dampet fell through the F hole.
Oh no.
And I was freaking out, and this wonderful person named Brett was like, hold on. And he had these like special pliers that were curved in such a way that it didn't get damaged the side at all. And it was like a team effort. Everybody was like trying to find it. We were turning the viola upside down.
Oh my gosh.
And then we carefully extracted it out, but without him. And now every time we see each other, I'm like, I'm not going to put the dampet in today. It's like an inside joke.
Tempt fate, yeah.
But
my gosh.
I think that might be his role. Is like he's like feels like he's part of the orchestra though, because they interact with the musicians more than management, and they're these unsung heroes. Really, if you need a sound shield, who's the guy who brings you the sound shield? Like those kinds of things. Like I think that might be Pavel's role, but he said some very like comforting things to Gloria.
He's Rodrigo Stan.
Yes, absolutely.
He's behind that guy.
And he's saying that the orchestra is behind him, too. The musicians are. Which may or may not be true. And then we get to cut back to the finale of the 1812.
Yeah,
and by
so
now there's
cannons
a
are
whole
going
audience. Off. Yep. Yeah, cannons. Where did the cannons come from? Where are they?
I don't know.
And Dee Dee's like, yeah, go ahead, Hailey, play some cymbals.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But this is one of those moments too. I will share that my mom is like, I know how utterly silly this is. She's like, I know you guys wouldn't ever play without music or anything like that, but it's a really moving thing to see. And I was like, you're right. It is. It's like to see again, like the silly scene that we saw Alex and Hailey doing their performance art, and people are just like engaged with it. And
yeah, we like to see people connecting.
That's right.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So there's a whole, it's basically turns into a block party. There are kids there.
Those cute little kids are like mimicking conducting with him. And
yeah, there's some jamming going on, drinking, dancing. And the cops
Union Bob, I was going to say, Rodrigo is breaking down Union Bob. I just noticed how much Union Bob time there was. And he was like, this is an unsanctioned performance. This was not a rehearsal. And Rodrigo's like, it's unhinged, it's untethered, and look at the glow in your eyes. And Union Bob like can't help but smile. He's like having a decent time. And Betty's having a great time.
Betty turns her very expensive oboe over to a child.
Yes.
So
and then
and then the cops show up.
Jeez.
And they're the big killjoy.
Oh, total killjoy. Yeah.
Yeah.
They just refuse to have a good time, and the musicians want nothing to do with it. Did you like how the one cop is like, "Hey, can you please stop pissing on the wall back there?"
Yes. There's always somebody.
I'm dying to know who it was.
There's no bathroom. Who asked about the bathroom?
Yeah, that's true. The concert master.
Yeah, he was like, where's the bathroom? I bet it was that dude.
Dee Dee, ever the hippie he is.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, man.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely got the revolutionary instinct.
Yeah. You got
He's
nothing
been to a
better
couple
to
protests,
do with
that guy.
Time. Totally.
He's been arrested.
He's been arrested.
He has a rap sheet, that guy.
And as soon as they start trying to touch his instrument, then all the musicians are like, oh, no.
I mean, yeah, I could see that happening for sure. Right. So Rodrigo ends up getting dragged away and arrested because he's putting up a fight. Mm-hmm. And I think this endears him to the whole orchestra. Yeah. So they show up at the police station.
That's right. It's like solidarity.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of them there. And here is where Hailey is harassing Betty again about the lessons. And so Betty's fun. Like, well, I do have an opening at 6:30 a.m. on Saturdays. I was like, 6:30 on Saturdays? I don't even think as a hungry college student that I would have gotten up at 6:30 a.m. on a Saturday for a lesson.
Hell no.
Oh my God.
But I will tell you, unnamed person that we happen to know, it's just funny that this came out. I found this out last week, who is a woodwind player, agreed to coach a woodwind quartet at college at 6:45 a.m. on Mondays because it's the only time they could meet. And I'm like, is this a double read thing? You weirdos.
They are
they're their own brand.
Dedicated teacher.
Their own breed.
Yes. I think so. That takes a very special kind of personality.
Yep.
Maybe they faced a lot of adversity in their life.
Yeah, that's true. It's a hard.
Just being
it's hard
persecuted
work.
as a double reed player.
Persecuted. It's a hard life.
I mean, they spend their Friday nights making reeds.
Yeah. It's not fun.
No. So Gloria is loving this for publicity's sake. Any publicity is good publicity. So yeah. So Rodrigo getting arrested. She's getting all the photos of it.
Yes.
She's going to capitalize on that.
Yep.
And then we see Hailey in a cab. She's going home. And when she gets home, she sees who's waiting for her. Alex, the dancer. Mm-hmm. He's persistent.
Yeah.
He's not giving up on her.
Yeah.
Which I can respect.
Yeah, definitely.
So she actually has the chutzpah to confront him about Addison.
Yeah.
I was so glad to hear her just say what she had to say.
Just admit that she was uncomfortable about it, because that's the thing is, like, he doesn't even have an opportunity to respond if she can't, which again goes back to Duncan's wisdom. It's like, you can respond this way and however. Mm-hmm. So she does, but unfortunately, I feel like this is probably the most expected response. He's like clueless about it. He's like, what? I was watching TV and I fell asleep before you got there. Like,
yeah, that was such a half-baked response.
Terrible. Yeah, forget it. Alex, you're on timeout.
Yeah.
And he's going to go to Florida with that creepy model hunter.
I mean, He's taking that risk upon himself for a body spray ad.
Probably gonna make a lot of money though.
I mean, good for him, but I hope he doesn't get himself into trouble there.
That's right. No, yeah, he could. But, he wants to hang out, and she chooses herself, and she chooses her music opportunities over him. And I have to say, in 2023, good on her. Mm-hmm. Good for her.
Yeah.
Because remember, the last time she was presented with that opportunity to chill out and have beers with him.
That's right.
She went to rehearsal the next day at New York Symphony, and she screwed up.
Yep.
So she had to
she is
choose
evolving.
herself in this. Yeah, that's right.
Good for her.
Exactly.
That's a good point.
Yep. I loved it.
And then the last scene is we see Rodrigo and Gloria in a cab after she bails him out of the clink.
She's not happy.
And she's like, that could get you deported.
Yep.
And by the way, here's your bill for $80,000 in overtime and unsanctioned performance fees.
Which is so silly. It would never be $80,000, right? Like, well, for the orchestra,
For the whole orchestra?
I love that he's like, it's fine, I'll just pay it.
I'm like, wow.
How much
really?
cash do you have there, Rodrigo?
Yeah. I was going to say, are you just like independently wealthy?
And that's
conductors
when
make a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe he is independently well. Maybe he has endorsements and things because he's very,
maybe.
marketable. Yeah. But that's when we officially find out that the orchestra's in trouble, and we close out with this little clever smile on Rodrigo's face. He has an idea.
There's something brewing in there.
And we don't know what it is.
He's clearly hatching a plan.
That's right.
So we get to find out more about that on the next episode.
So stay tuned. Thank you so much for listening today. And thanks also to our season sponsors, Arkrest, Potter Violins, and Aria Lights.
Another thanks to Alto Clef Gifts, where you can purchase Viola-centric shirts and mugs and a variety of other fun items featuring our beloved Alto Clef.
If you loved today's episode, consider writing us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. And if you want the chance to hang with us and have access to behind-the-scenes audio and video recordings, check out our new Patreon. The Viola-centric theme music was written and produced by JP Wogeman and is performed by Steph and myself.
Thanks again for listening. Let's talk soon.